calling all hardware startup founders and innovators. Welcome to Creations Engineered with Srushty, your go-to podcast where we share valuable insights into building IoT hardware products from successful innovators and founders. Whether you're a hardware enthusiast or a startup founder, we've got something for you. So grab your headphones and let's engineer the future together.
Hey everyone, this is Teja back again from Srushty for our great episode called Creation Engineered. So today we have special guests. I have along with me Dr. Satyender Goel from India Health Link and our very own Marutha, the founder and CEO of Srushty. Hey guys, how are you guys doing?
Well, nice to be here, Teja.
I'm excited to be talking with Satyender again. Long journey we have done, so it's a good time to recap what we have done.
It's all about ensuring what real journey you guys have gone through while building some hardware and giving some good knowledge and insights to upcoming entrepreneurs and startup is what this entire series is all about. I think none other than your both journey, a decade name. Yeah, it's been a decade old since you guys have started this. In this zone or this era especially, the most critical and the challenging space is getting an FDA-compliant device out. It's a bottleneck, and some people feel, especially in a very small startup, founders feel like it's a pain in the neck and they don't know where to go, how to start, how do they narrow it down for the real spec altogether. So we're going to talk about this topic in detail with two experts in IoT medical and product development space. So let me give a quick intro about both of them. Dr. Satyender Goel is founder and CEO of IHL, India Health Link. He's a serial entrepreneur and a health informatics professor in USA with built-in 15 years of experience in national and state level health data ecosystems. He's co-founded approximately 4 or 5 health companies, including 2 nonprofits. Now he's more focused on consumer-centric healthcare ecosystem for both India and Global South. And of course, Marutha here, he's an IITian with 27 years of experience in product development. He's currently leads Srushty from US zone. He's well expertise in IoT engineering solutions to give out cutting-edge solutions across. His expertise comes from DFM, prototyping, and cost optimization, and helps founders, especially in the in a startup, non-funded or funded, to scale into a great SMB segments and things like that. Maybe you can share some quick glimpse on what your 10 years of journey was, maybe, approximately.
Yeah, probably right off I want to just ask Satyender, how did it all start? What was the vision? And you being doing well in US and you had a vision to bring data-centric healthcare to India from your experience in US. So how did the vision start and what was the vision?
Well, thanks, Marutha. And again, I also appreciate you all coming together after so long. It seems like ages ago. It is actually ages ago. In 2013, 14, if I recall correctly. I've been in US. I faced this dilemma sitting here and working through the entire infrastructure healthcare ecosystem in US, saying, well, India is up and coming. India is looking forward to build better infrastructure in India, and then where should India go in terms of taking care of the population? And being an Indian, grown up in India, I was really concerned. Should we look at West to build what we want to build in terms of patient-centric care? But that was the problem statement in my mind, that I think based on our demographic in India, it's not suitable to follow what has been followed in the world. So with that one problem statement, I ventured. Of course, I had access to what I saw in the Western world, but I wanted to keep that knowledge and see what we can do to solve the problem. That's where I think with that problem statement, we collaborated together. I came to you just brainstorming, like if we were to take a consumer-centric route and build a portable medical device backed up with an IoT, AI or digital intelligence infrastructure. So combination of these together, which may be a way to scale healthcare to remote villages and demographic diversity like India, and provide the cheapest point of care to the entire population in India, 1.5 billion now. So that started 12 years ago now. And that statement, at that time it looked like a dream. I think we've discussed many times. I don't think it's possible. And also, we were coming from a concept which is collective intelligence of different parts of the world, and taking into the segment which actually didn't even have the infrastructure. We didn't even know where to buy the parts, how to build this infrastructure in India, how to connect it together. But it took us some time as well, but we finally achieved it. So I think that was the major, I would say, a long journey. I feel like, I'm being in US and you being in India, we spend insane amount of early and late hours, whichever way you can count it as. But today I can say that we finally in the market and able to achieve some part of the dream.
Thanks, Satyender. Just one thing I want to recall. It all started as a software update for the device, because we had the hardware device already brought in, licensed, and we were just thinking that we will change the software to Indian context and that's be it. But that assumption changed day one, correct? We had to completely localize the hardware. We need to manufacture in India, and also not just the same hardware. We need to add quite a lot of features because the Indian demographic was asking. At that stage, did you believe that we can pull it out of India? Because still, this is a big question. Okay, India is not known for hardware. So can India do hardware? So that was a question. This is a decade-old question. Now we are much better. But how did you have your guts that time to think about venturing into doing the hardware in India?
That's a good question, right? It was more than guts, it was conviction. And I think it was you who I believed. I was of the opinion, obviously you brought the system, we bought it from US, but it was designed and manufactured in China. So we had this conviction, can we do it in India? And you came up to me and said, no, I will make it in India. Because I was okay to get the manufacturing done in China itself and continue to do the firmware and the software part of it. But I think that wouldn't have worked. So I think it was all you who was able to convince me, and we took a bet on it and we did it.
Yeah, actually, it was a gut at that time for me, because we were trying, if I'm not mistaken, I traveled to China to add one feature into our device, and we found it very difficult to convince a well-developed product is easy to manufacture, but a developing product, which is actually has to be keep on adding features, it was difficult to get it done with the communication limitations we had. So I think that journey, we took it, and thanks for believing in us and do that. And I think we learned quite a lot out of that. And going from there, there are a lot of things that we had to meet with respect to as a founder, a remote founder sitting in US, but trying to put a solution to Indian market. How was the journey for you handling that? I mean, today, a lot of founders that I see in US, they're not launching only for US. They're also looking at global market. And the global market is always and India as a market as well, whenever they're looking at the product to see an Indian opportunity as well. So how do you see the journey, what kind of support that you need from a remote partner to build a solution with respect to the market that you are remote to?
Well, so I would say I got lucky, but I would the whole process, I think we failed to understand the complexity when it comes to building medical devices, right? So the component which are, it's not just the hardware. And when we talk about hardware also, you go back to, there's a mechanical, electronics, electrical, and then comes the firmware part. And sometimes, there are more complexity within that. So I don't want to go down that route, but medical device hardware alone is big. From CAD designing to prototyping to actually making it functional and figuring out which part to buy, where to buy, what is right, what is not right. All of that, design to concept to then prototype and then to market, is a big journey on the medical device alone, which is what I thought we were kind of signing up together for. But then we realized, that's not going to work alone. Then we need a firmware that medical device has to communicate with something to be able for us to manage. And then we also wanted to build a software, which is the digital solution. So that is a complete journey. And I think that's where I got lucky in finding, I would say that time is an end-to-end prototyping partner that we can actually design together, understand what the nuances are, and take the decision based off of what we are getting in front of it. So we, as a CEO, I coming with a simple aspiration, also the other part of investors and the board who wanted to actually also guide what we want and in the end it's an outcome of the goal. This should be the outcome. This is what we want to accomplish. But the narrowing down from goal to actually how it will come from the simple electronic mechanical assembly of medical device to that, it's a long journey in between. And I think that's where being a remote CEO is very difficult to see. Simply because there are other parts of the business which we have to manage. This remains the main crucial one. And also you're not present and difficult to see what's going on. And there are so many minute decisions which has to be taken on the spot. Again, as I said, decisions in all life cycle of this hardware, software, firmware, whatever you can call it as. And that one decision impact the entire cycle. And that's where I think having somebody like you and Srushty's team helped. That I didn't have be on the ground to understand and take the decisions and not repent for it, right? So you were able to not just come back to me and say, let's discuss. I had an aspiration. I sometimes said, no, let's do this. And you came back saying, maybe that's not a good idea. Let's look at this one. Let's go and market review. And so it's effective back and forth. That I wake up every day at 4 a.m. doesn't help. I need to be actually physically present to build the medical device. And if it was not Srushty, I don't think we could achieve what we achieved.
Also, Satyender, in that same context, you were only talking about a lot of hardware and then end-to-end prototyping. There's also a context to this of certain certifications and all kinds of complaints coming into this. And as a remote CEO, you were there, and also regulatories change between country to country and marketing place to marketing place. So, how do you think FDA played an important role in your medical device? How challenging was it for you to understand it, or what did you really try to do and navigate yourself in this effectively?
That's a good question, right? So people just think about, we were all talking about prototyping and at least getting ready to deliver what this device can do. And in most circumstances, we think we don't know whether it will work, and let's just wait to see whether we can achieve what we want to achieve and take to the market and to the customer, prototyping customer, some kind of MVP go live. But if you're looking into medical devices, at the end of the day, you need to keep in mind it's for human health. And healthcare, there is a zero tolerance. And because there's zero tolerance, these compliance comes into picture. And I wouldn't say that India is far behind. The compliance requirements in India is as closer to at least coming at the level of the European and US standard. But US FDA is very particular in this manner that they have to have certain the processes in place, right? And US FDA, again, we all know that there are different classes, 1, 2, 3 types of devices. And based on the device you're kind of going after, you need to follow the same. Unless you can find something which is FDA exempt. If it's FDA exempt, you still have to think about the compliances and the governance. There is some protocol which you have to follow. But what we ignored and what we figured out late in our particular case is that it's just not the medical device safety, which is what FDA looks after. It is also the quality, the QMS. And if you're looking at AI and IoT devices, you also should think about security. And if you have software, you have to also think about something called software bill of material, meaning every single line of code you wrote in your software, which is operating the firmware and the hardware at the end of the day, that actually also is being tracked. You're not using open source library, you're using licensed library, who is providing that library, who built it. So that level of cadence is required for hardware, software, all of that. So I would say the quality management system, which is what FDA expect, the design controls, what you've done in the past and how you progress. And then ultimately you need to make sure that what is it built for? Is it something which is going to be, minimally invasive, or is it just a non-invasive device, or what kind of category it falls under? And finally, I would say that founders should start thinking about it right when you're thinking. This should be part of the thought process. The compliance cannot be left at the end. Compliance should start on day one. Compliance for data, compliance for software, compliance for hardware, including the ISO certifications, QMS certifications, HIPAA certification. You don't have to get them, but you have to start thinking about from the day one.
Correct. I mean, rightly said, it has to be part of the journey from day one, and it should be as important as functional prototype of hardware you're looking for.
I like to add something here. Okay, so this journey was very important here. The entire design team is outside of India Health Link company, correct? We are the design partners to them, and we own most of the procedural documentation that is required to be submitted for this compliance requirement. And at the same time, the compliance is not comes cheap. Okay, so we need subject matter expertise who can actually guide us in the compliance process. And Srushty technically did not have the in-house technical experts for all the geos. Correct? India, we are discovering new. We have done some FDA in the past for US, but we are learning. So what right combination worked here is Satyender from his side on India Health Link brought in the right experts. There are subject matter experts who understood the regulatory compliance, and the cost of that was taken care by India Health Link. And they were actually giving us the guidance what needs to be done with respect to regulatory documentation and regulatory certification requirement. We had a situation that our factory, which is producing the machine, has to be certified to get into it. And there are things that was not originally planned because it was a prototyping building facility and we are going into production. We will now look at that. And all the technical guidance were given by the subject matter experts we brought in. But since we were owning every bit of the process with the building the thing, and we have to be the person who need to take care of the documentation and evidence required to it. That's one part of it. Another important thing that we crossed in the regulatory thing is clinical trials. And we are building a device which actually coming with a new way of doing things, and we need to benchmark against a gold standard in a clinical environment. And I think Satyender did another brilliant thing there is he tied up with an hospital and brought in somebody to actually take in the device within the medical, medical compliance regulatory side. What there's ethical approval required to do that, and the hospital was willing to do that, and they took the machine and did the benchmarking, and we were correlating the data and ensure that medical correlation between the gold standard machines were coming. So there are so many things that we need to think through the journey during regulatory thing. We need to start first with clarity, but we need to look at when an internal and external team is working and how we can take care of it. And that's an important part that everybody should know too.
Since you brought up the topic about how clinical trials is also important, Martha, I think it will be great if you can run through from designing and developing an IoT medical device. What should be the idea, or what the young entrepreneur should think from his foot? If you can share some experience on it and come up with your good and bad similar experience would help the forum a lot.
Yeah, so instead of getting into technicality, I would say two things, correct? As Satyender said, entrepreneurs starting, trying to solve the problem, don't realize that what is the regulatory requirement. You must want to first put a solution to the market and get it accepted. But think early, start early, there is a regulatory requirement is there. And ensure you choose a partner who understands regulatory thing. Okay, so that they are compliant and they are ready to meet things, and they have done before an FDA-compliant document or any regulatory compliant products done, and they have the experience and they can guide you with you. And don't hesitate to invest on subject matter experts who are on the regulatory, who can guide us from the day one. Okay, so it is not something we can catch up. Catching up can be even more expensive. Maybe we will not do heavy working till the product is proved in the market, but from day one, if the guidance comes, to actually not just guide the supplier or the design partner, it also talks about how the company which is owning the IP for the product also prepared with respect to the regulatory thing, because it involves budget, it involves stages at which the time delays will be there to go to market. So think through all of them. So onboarding the SME earlier is important. And we are open to bring the SMEs in our end panel in SMEs, or we are the other customers, we have worked with SMEs that the customers could bring in because they are comfortable working in the past, or they are VCs who are invested, have worked with some regulatory people, they brought in the people. We're open to work with them, but think early and start with the SME in place and plan your investment at the right point of the time. Don't do it early on the heavy lifting of that side. And there is a heavy lifting, a lot of documentation work is required to do, and we are ready to do it for you. And it can save quite a lot of cost doing out of India, because the bill rates could be lower. It can lower your entire journey of FDA documentation, things like that.
I can just backward Marutha said regulatory compliance you cannot do it alone. And there might be, you might have to engage different SMEs. If you're going for security certification compliance versus actual medical device certification compliances, you need to engage different experts. And don't downplay the idea that we can do it. We can go online, read it through. It's just not possible. I mean, we learn it hard way. And also keep it in mind that clinical trials are not necessary for everything, right? So you need to keep it in mind that whether you're going for a 510K or you're going for a de novo or you're going for a pre-market approval, based on where you are in the stage of what your device looks like, accordingly, you need to conduct trials and collect data or not. That again, regulatory experts can tell you more about it. But just keep that in mind that this is the very important piece. Bring help that is necessary. And in general, you will find these timelines. 510K can take 100 days to 180 days, whatever that is. But I'll tell you, preparing for that may take you 2 years. Okay, and that's where the time goes. It's not the actual compliance process which happens with the regulatory authority or the certified authority. It is actually getting up to that speed that Marutha mentioned, preparing documentation, design documentation, compliances, and they might want to see 6 months, a year, 2 years of history that you've captured in place. But yes, so don't downplay it. That is the majority of the work.
Well said, Rahat. I think most of them, in short, you can say, don't cut the corners. Just don't try to cut the corners and move forward. That's going to cost you more.
Not in this case. You can cut the corner everywhere else, not in the compliance.
I can ask a question to Satyender. So in a medical device or any smart devices for that matter today, the hardware development cycle is predictable time frame. Okay, you go from a generation 1, 6 months to 1 year, develop it, then probably you'll market it and go to the generation 2, pick it up after 1 year or so. But the software journey is never stopping, correct? You work on software development every day, even when it's in market, because that's where the smartness comes. And in India HealthLink case and Satyender's case, we were very clear about this journey and we did something very unique, keeping that in mind. Okay, so Satyen, I want you to address how did you vision the build, operate, and transfer of the software team for you, and what was the vision and why you wanted it, and how did it happen?
Of course, Marutha, I talk about it, but I also want to echo that the software part of it, even the hardware sometimes is more rapid than yearly cycle that you might have to, just because things is not about the new features, it's also about the changes. And what I realized is hardware, what we built at India HealthLink had 60 to 80 vendors who were supplying parts. And what we realize more often than not is vendors stopped supplying product got changed, or even just simple cable. That actually also impact, because every single piece, electronic, mechanical, whatnot in the system actually has an impact on the software and the firmware. So the life cycle it's not that long, it just continuously iterating. And the second piece of the software end was it iterates more often, just because as you go into the market, you will learn something which you did not know. Customer is the one who's teaching you what they need. It's all requirements which are changing every day. So your software, because that is a shorter time scale, I would say 1 to 3 months, than a hardware which is a longer time scale. So software change more often, but just because of the market demand. But again, I would say, I just repeat the same statement I did before. We got lucky. What we did with Srushty was, we realized that even though we wanted to build this 3-tier system where we have a hardware, firmware, and then we have the software, because we also in-house did some firmware development, we couldn't do it in isolation. So Marutha stepped up and said, okay, we want to build a software team. The idea was, let's do it all together in the same proximity. Just because if I build hardware here in this factory, bring it to a prototyping stage, and then software teams interacting with it, already we have this dilemma of I sitting in US and the whole thing is done in India. We don't want to create another bifurcation, because that will never succeed. So with Srushty, we were able to build it all together, the hardware, firmware, all the controls, innovation, whatever need to be done, even the factory manufacturing is done by Srushty. And the software team also was hired and the correct skill level. And they were put up with the design engineers, they were put up with the hardware engineers, they're sitting together, working what needs to be done, all done within the Srushty framework. When it was built, we were able to then, as we went to the market, as our customer segment was growing, we were as software was to scale faster. So we, again, lucky enough, and then as per our terms, Srushty has moved on to transfer the team, the software team, 90% of it to us. And we still wanted to keep some, and Srushty did, kept some software so that we can continue to build the hardware-software combination iterations. We still needed to keep some software team, which Srushty had, but we moved our software team in-house and grew the software team up, again, with the coordination of that, the build, operate, transfer model. I think that worked out very well. Again, it was, when we say it worked out very well, it is a time series, time scale. It was not done in days or months or weeks. It took us years to get to where we are. But yes, so that again, I got lucky, and I should say a testament to what Srushty has done over 20 years now. We are one of the beneficiaries.
Yeah, actually, one good thing was we had the vision on the day one. Okay, so Satyender was very clear. He would not like to handle the hardware, heavy lifting. So, but software he wouldn't like to take. So when we built the team itself, the team was starting with a dual identity. They were Srushty engineer as well as an IHL engineer day one. And they know at one point of time, they will move out of Srushty's banner. So when they were in Srushty, they technically reporting to the Srushty management. Okay, so the program managers from Srushty was managing them and handling everything till we hired the right program manager, right test engineer, everything, test lead, development lead, architect lead, every head of the department is ready, and now they are independently taking decision. That's when the team got moved out of Srushty under an IHL banner, and then Satyender had the infrastructure to handle it. But hiring was a challenge, correct? I mean, IHL was a no brand at that day, and how do we bring talented resources to IHL at that day? So the Srushty umbrella helped to attract talent. It was not easy, even for us, because startup hiring at that day is 10 days before, it's not an easy thing. And we hired and built the team, and that team still stays on, and they are the backbone to IHL. I'm very proud to see that team still plays a huge role. And yeah.
Great. I think the importance of here while developing such complex, or I should rate it as complex, because any medical product is having all the four verticals, which is mechanical, electrical, electronics, firmware, software, and AI to it, and then you kind of do the prototyping, regulatory body. If there are two functions who don't, that is the end the firm, which is IHL here, and the technology partner Srushty here, don't see it like a single vision and play it like a team. I don't think so any product can come out successfully into the market. It is said and done, though the founders, startups try to play it like everything can be done in-house to save some bugs, and the funding constraints, everything are true to their nature. We cannot say no to that. But the facts remain that to be successful, there should be collaborative ecosystem partners for startups to be successful, whether it is technology-wise, whether it is regulatory side, whether it's manufacturing side, everything should come cohesively to make a successful product. I think this journey between both these organizations have proven once again to that. Now, coming into another topic which viewers would love to hear from the software perspective, Satyender, and then I'll have one more to Marutha on different thing. Security, the security and complaints, especially in the HIPAA side. Though FDA is important from the hardware perspective, what does it really take, and big risk you see in cybersecurity and HIPAA compliance nature, for which the startup should address?
So, just because of my nature and the work, when it comes to healthcare, we all kind of try to just think about HIPAA. HIPAA as a security, and HIPAA is not just a security, HIPAA is a privacy and security both come together. That just because we hear that in context of patient data and patient care, and that's largely what is applicable to everybody. But when it comes to medical devices, it's just not that. Right now, again, going back to that, I mentioned a little while ago as the software bill of material. That's why do they need software bill of material at the FDA compliance level? Is actually just for that particular reason, that there is a requirement for the approvals for them to know how did you build your software. Are you using any contingencies? So in addition to HIPAA, which is again, before you go to the market, you need to take care of the patient care. You need to also think about other compliances, which is cybersecurity centric, which are government, based on the government compliance in that particular jurisdiction, US has different laws than India does, and they don't allow certain things, which again, they also can change. So you need to not only have that compliance in place, you need to be ready to take actions on changing some of those. In addition to that, the other things which are the device security itself. So there are standards like IEC, NIST, which are not actually HIPAA, which are not even again cybersecurity software bill of material. And then the FDA itself has cybersecurity guidelines that covers the medical devices. So the security, again, just don't think in terms of data. Medical device have this IEC, cybersecurity laws, and the software bill of material, and HIPAA anyways there. So that's what I would say, that compliance and security is a little bit more complicated when it comes to medical.
Correct. Nicely said, Satyender. And onto the context of that, Martha, I have one more thing. In this current era, the current period in which we are, healthcare is the most limelight, as it's spoken, because of various factors across global things happening to humans like us. Where is this IoT and AI transforming, or how is it transforming the healthcare sector? If you can throw some light on it. And from an engineering perspective, what are the biggest challenges you think bringing these technologies to the these kind of FDA regulated devices will help? You just can help us understand, it will be really great.
Yeah, actually, I would like to address in two ways. Okay. I think Satyender is the data expert here, okay, the data scientist here. Okay, so when we started, the AI was not the buzzword, but he's the data expert here. Multiple decades before itself, correct? So the AI is the term that we are using now, but data analytics is what had been Satyender's goal. But in a technology development partner perspective, I would say today a lot of buzz on the AI is coming up, and a lot of things can be accomplished by AI. But when it comes to medical devices, okay, there are other fundamentals need to be correct in before we jumping into the AI side, correct? So the development challenges of a medical device still runs the same, okay? Unless until you're getting the data without a device from some kind of a medical database and you're analyzing that, yes, then the development need not be going in worried about it, correct? But when it comes to a device-centered approach to collect data and bring the data into a data set and finally get into an analysis out of it and make sense out of it, it's a whole different game, correct? And it still has the same challenges of any intelligent device that we develop, and especially for medical and with compliance and regulatory requirement, that becomes challenging. I'm getting into a lot of investment pitches right here in US, and I'm hearing a lot of pitches done by medical companies fully counting on and making a big difference in the market with respect to the AI point of view alone. But some of them are not taking the necessary precautions, because at the end of the day, it's a medical device. A lot of things needs to be taken care of before we can actually use the AI as a power tool on top of it. So having said that, I would like to hear from Satyender's view on how AI is transferring the medical data science, because he's a data science expert and been working on this and teaching on that area. So how is AI changing, and how is IHL gaming for the change too, in future? What is the plan and vision? I would love to hear from him too.
Again, in last, I would say the FDA have taken a good proactive stand for last 4 or 5 years. They are a dedicated team just for looking into the AI part of the ecosystem. And there is a category now, software as a medical device, SAMD, which is where most of the AI is going. And but keep one thing which I think we shouldn't ignore, even if it's AI, non-AI, for any compliance perspective, they treat it as a medical device, meaning you still have to go through the same process. You have to still show the efficacy, you still show the security and safety for the patient. So that doesn't change. So the timeline also doesn't change. The only thing is now you don't have a medical device. Actually, in general, medical device is never brought to FDA. FDA only takes care of the process, that your factory where you're making is perfect, your processes are perfect, your designs are perfect. And that is same with the software. How does it change? It doesn't. So I think the AI in a sense looks a good buzzword, but in getting the compliance, security certifications, etc., it is the same timeline as a medical device would, a traditional medical device would. At IHL, what we have taken the stance of, again, nobody can do everything. We have brought in the medical device, the intelligence in between, all of that. We can operate and provide care to the people. But as the technologies are changing, now the time to decision making for certain things or bringing portability or consumer-centric healthcare is becoming much easier. So we are partnering with already existing AI-driven, which have gone through that timeline, and trying to tie up with them. So because we have a medical device which can capture the data, and AI nowadays is very good at from medical device captured data for decision making by the doctor. I think they sit in the middle, and that is where their power is. I would say, in my opinion, most of the innovation right now is happening in that space. Can I take an image and process it faster? Can I take an image and learn more and better things than a doctor would do in traditional or lab technician would do in a timeline that can be fast tracked. So which would take 1 day or 2 days to get to the decision. Now AI can transform it to seconds or minutes.
So on a closing note, Satyender and Martha, I would like to hear one final thing on both your perspective on speed. Especially the speed is important in product development because it is all about the money, the funds, the grants, and many other investors coming on board. Reach to the market is important and things like that. So how important is speed in product development, and what do you think, Satyender and Martha, individually you can share this context before we close up on what is certain things you would like to discuss on how speed. Just share your thoughts.
I can just provide one context that, especially for founders and people who are building it first time, right? The speed in medical device, because we are, and I personally feel it's a healthcare and we need to be very, very cautious. We cannot, it's a zero tolerance, zero risk market. So it is going to be, so don't treat it as a consumer, right? You're not entering retail market that you can step back. You can't. So you cannot cut the corners in terms of the quality and the compliance. So you have to keep that in mind. When it comes to speed, I would say the best thing you can do is bring the product to the test, collect the feedback, collect the customer feedback, usage feedback, the acceptability, marketability, those you can do. And other things you can do is just, as we already discussed over this last 30-40 minutes, start thinking about all the caveat which you need. Not that, okay, I will get the product built, I'll think about the security later. Let me get the prototype built, I'll figure out what software to do. They're not mutually exclusive. You need to think about them together and start at least have a plan in place. This is why I think, talk to more people who've done in the past. Think about different facets and different facts and things. And again, Srushty is perfect partner in that space because they've done.
On aspect in the same way, Martha, as a technology partner in the product development space, what do you think speed is, how important, and what I want to do over there?
For me, medical or non-medical, device development, hardware development takes some time, correct? So I always say, to deliver a baby, you need to give 9 months, you cannot rush it, correct? So when you're creating something new, you need to give that time frame. So, but one few observation or few guidelines that I can give based on working with 200 plus product customers who have taken the product to market is please spec your product small for your first launch, what we call as MVP, minimum viable product. Don't become dreamy, don't try to kill all your competitors, don't bring all the features that your competitors are having and beyond. Just focus on your differentiator and how a first spec of the product can meet that so that you can go to the market and get market acceptance and also investor acceptance. Both are important. You need, if you were to take the long journey, so you need to go and get the MVP spec right. Don't over spec your MVP. That's the first and foremost thing I will do. So that will save you time. Okay. Second important thing is ensure that the product is not waited till full development to validate in the market. Okay, so or show it to and get the feedback in the market. Okay, even in the MVP journey, try to come up with multiple stages in which you can take a POC and demonstrate to the experts, and try to collect data and benchmark it and validate it. It's not clinical trial level thing. You validate it. You have your own proof of concept, whether you are beating the other products in the market or is your solution really working. I'm hearing pitches with a lot of people who have invested for 2-3 years, but they still feel their product performs better. They don't have empirical data to say the product will perform better. Theory, yes, the product will perform better, but in practice, will it perform better? Will the usability angle of it is cumbersome? Okay, they say I save cost. Okay, the usability is going to be very, very complex for them. Okay, the end user is spending 2 hours to set it up. Again, the cost offset will come. So that will come when you go to a person who's actually going to use it. So testing a hypothesis, okay, early with small stages, okay, will save you money and time and pivot. I mean, just imagine we define an MVP, we develop in 1 year, yes, we agree to it. But at the end of 1 year, we realize our hypothesis is wrong. Then you're going to take another 1 year to go with the changed hypothesis. But can you catch that hypothesis correct or wrong in month 2? Go with your core solution, take it to market and pivot. Now you pivot now, you're not going to take 2 years, you're going to take only 1 year, 2 months. That's the magic of saving time and go to market faster. That's my learning here. Plan small and make sure you test your hypothesis early and frequently enough so that you don't find yourself in the wrong side of the wall.
So I think we're coming close to our episode. So viewers, I think had a lot of thoughts going on and a lot of answers given to you by both experts here. I think it was really helpful to you guys. As an open house, I would suggest if you guys have any kind of questions in medical device development, from an entrepreneur standpoint view or a technology point of view, you can always reach out to Satyender and Martha or LinkedIn. We'll be sharing their LinkedIn profiles to you, and they're always open to share their feedback and experience in their journeys. And well, not said, since time is closing out, we would like to come again and meet you guys for another episode with another entrepreneur who's in a different space in IoT soon. So stay tuned. Once again, this is Teja from Srushty, signing off for Creations Engineer. Thanks a lot, Satyender and Martha. It was nice talking to you. Have a great days ahead, and good luck for your future endeavors, Satyender and Martha.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thanks, Satyender.
Thanks, Maruth.